Hello and welcome to the Dating Without Nipples podcast, where we talk about going topless, which means opening our hearts, exposing all of our insecurities, vulnerabilities, all the things that sometimes get in the way in order to overcome them and show up for our most inspired, courageous life. I love speaking with everyday warriors on this podcast, and that is exactly who I have with me today. Everyday, ordinary, and extraordinary, Crystal Connelly. Crystal is a healer, yoga teacher, chef, and mom. Over the past 15 years, Crystal has started and run several successful small businesses in the wellness industry, ranging from plant-based food, energy healing, and yoga. At the root of her mission is Crystal's desire to help women discover ease and happiness within themselves. Crystal embodies holistic healing mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually as a vegan of over 20 years, Reiki Master, and 500-hour yoga teacher. These paths of embodiment have guided her to help others find balance, growth, and healing within these realms. Crystal enjoys helping folks shape the vision of their business, develop stronger inner guidance, and overcome past traumas. With Crystal, you will always be greeted with compassion, empathy, and a smile. Crystal, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. It's a great honor for me.
And we have been on here before. This is our second time. Of course, you and I have had tons of juicy conversations over the years, but inviting the audience in today to talk about something special. So last time we spoke a lot about your journey and what you've overcome in the past to get to where you are today, insecurities that showed up in adolescence, as an early entrepreneur, as a yoga teacher. But I think it's really good to dive into the here and now, the present time of what are the upper limits that are going on present day. What are you working on, and what is showing up for you as you continue to challenge yourself and evolve and expand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. That's a beautiful question. I feel like as I have started my yoga business and become comfortable in my ability to hold space and move with other people and in this practice of yoga, I've come to that upper limit as I have in the past with my previous businesses. And with yoga, it's a little bit different because I feel very soulfully connected to it. And so I know that I've hit the ceiling, and I don't want to stay there. For me, every other time I've had this in other businesses, I either dissolve the business or I chalk it up to this or that or whatever. And now that I am here again, I feel like that's not where I want to go. I feel like it's time for me to grow and evolve past this. And so really for me, these past couple of weeks and in this very moment, I am trying to tune into what has created these upper limits for me, or this limitation. And man, it's been a really wild roller coaster of going in deep and picking out all these things about my life experience and what has led me up to this moment and how are they impacting me now. And it's been really exhausting and really beautiful at the same time.
I think sometimes we don't recognize an upper limit or a plateau for what it is, because it can seem like a shift into a lack of interest or a dissolution of passion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so exciting in the beginning of any new project and even in the beginning of an adversity or a challenge, whether it was voluntary or just something that happens to us in our life that really takes all of our attention.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a certain drama and intensity to that, a certain passion. And as the warriors that we are, we rise to that. We sometimes thrive in that because it calls on our best selves, our leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And we learn and we grow. And I think we have an innate desire for novelty, for new experiences, for growth, of course. So now that you're in this soul alignment with the yoga and you notice this pattern coming up, what does it feel like in your body? Does it feel like a boredom? Does it feel like a lack of motivation? Does it feel like disconnect? And what steps are you taking to kind of really keep the juices flowing?
Yeah. For me, it feels like stillness. It feels like heavy stagnation, or there's just a heavy stillness to it. And so I could definitely live in that. You know, it's not good or bad. It just is. And it's quiet enough that I could just be there. And but I don't want to be there because what I've noticed in myself is a desire that still lives. So even in that stillness of this ceiling, this limitation, then I still have this desire, this desire to drive forward into something, not knowing what that something is, not knowing what it feels like or what it's going to be like when I, peek my head over. But yeah, so because I still have that desire, I've been reaching out. I've been reaching out to people that I trust and respect and know that they have gone through their upper limits, and they have surpassed and continue to. And so that is different than what I have done well, and I continue to do, which is just grow and take lots of courses, lots of workshops. I love to fill my time and space at those things. Yeah. But I think that it's different because it's looking for guidance, and I have to keep coming back to, and this is the foundation for me in the last 2 weeks, is I have to keep coming back to intention, like grounded intention. And because I am a doer, I like to actively do and go, and a lot of times it comes from this creative outlet, but it's not grounded and it's not with an intention. And so I have to keep coming back to, what is my intention behind this? And then I move into it with that intention, and everything unfolds completely differently. And so that's what I've been doing. I've been looking for guidance from these mentors, and I've been reminding myself as often as I can, every day, multiple times a day, to come back to that place of intention. Yeah.
Intention, you're right. It's grounding. And I can feel that. It's funny how, call it insecurity, upper limit, resistance, whatever that is. And sometimes it's just a project, it's just not really wanting to come to fruition, certainly. Mm-hmm. But when we know that it's there and it's not our first rodeo, if it's a business project or whatever it is, and we see this pattern, we want to move forward, last time we talked a little bit about age and the benefits of what comes with maturity. What I'm sensing is that a really beautiful benefit to having this life experience is patience, and not feeling the necessity to scramble away from stillness. And
Totally.
and
Absolutely.
right there, so there's not as much anxiety going on. It feels a little bit more like being in a waiting room. You know you're going to be called, you know the next step is going to unfold, so you're putting your feelers out, you're kind of doing your thing, but there's this beautiful sense of positive expectancy if we're comfortable in the stillness of it. And then with the big rise and fall of big vision, big inspiration, big idea, when that wave comes, to stay grounded. I, for one, will go, oh, I need to go get ready and go work at a coffee shop. I need to call all my friends and tell all my friends about it. Or there's the hustle and the busyness. And I really think it's a way of, it's so distracting. It's not productive. We're at a time in our lives, I know you most certainly are, where you're asking the questions like, yes, I love to learn, but what is best for my business? What is my intention moving forward? And it's a little bit more concrete. It's more deliberate. Have you landed on a higher intention for where you're going? Is that something you're still?
So, actually today I had a call with one of my mentors, and she had me do this exercise, which I thought was really beautiful, because I tried to explain this to her too, which I was like, I'm not very good at explaining this, but I'll give you an example and then hopefully it resonates. So my husband's a wilderness educator. And he thinks that everyone that he teaches obviously knows these skill sets, right? Like, of course, everyone knows the foundation, and but it's only because he knows them so well that this belief is that everyone feels and knows the same thing. And so, for me, I just move through life mostly feeling. I do a lot of feeling, like I just feel things and then I respond or not. And and so the way I've moved through life, through my life scenarios, and some of them traumatic, some of them not, some of them beautiful and grand, some of them really horrible. And the way I have moved through them, I have no idea, because it's just who I am. And so this woman had me reflect back on a few different experiences of my life that were transformational, where they were periods of life that literally changed my life forward. And so in my description of me expressing what I went through and the words that came out of me, she was able to reflect back to me what it is how I moved through it. And that was an amazing thing for me to hear, because it was absolutely true. Absolutely true. And so long story longer, she said, well, reflect on this, because this is your foundation. This is where you start to eventually create out of. Because when you come into that space of knowing what you are grounded in and how you are transforming yourself through all of these things in life, then you can intentionally put that into something in a creative form. And those people that come to you for that are going to know, and they're going to feel, and it's going to be authentic, and it's going to be, for them, transformational also. So that is where I'm going, but I'm not there yet.
Is it values based? Is it a value?
Yep.
I'm grounded in these values.
Well, so it was this knowing that I have to. So again, when when things are reflected back to me, it's this: I'm hearing you, I'm seeing you, I'm feeling and taking everything in. but not fully actively listening, because it's a holistic experience. and so I have to go back and listen to her video, because the way she reflected it back to me was amazing. And the part of it that is where I want to land is this, my ability to come into transition, but also in the difficulty. So I'm in transition in this, the muck and mud of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I am usually, almost always, okay with the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
I am willing and ready to move forward and open with love and gratitude and grace, because I have this full, deep trust in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that for me is for sure the biggest thing. And being able to figure out how to express that outward, and knowing that now is like the hugest part, because I've created, and it comes from my heart, but it's never with intention about, who I am at the core. And so that's where it's going to go. And it is. And then, yes. And then the values come into there. So gratitude and love and grace and all of those things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, is that relatively new to you, or is that many years now that you can say, I trust myself fully?
Yeah. I think anytime I'm in major transition, I absolutely know that I can trust myself fully. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in uncertainty.
Yeah.
Sometimes for me, it's in the stillness and in the in-between. Sometimes if there's a little bit too much space or too many choices, I might look at overwhelm. I might feel a little bit of anxiety. I might strum up dramas or activities in areas that are not helpful and not productive.
Mm-hmm.
I love this idea of being both grounded and wide open to uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're balancing your family, your husband, your children, your yoga business, and so many different aspects, still doing the vegan chef and all of that. Do you get to a point where you feel like you really want to narrow things down and hone in? And or are you balancing that with also trying to be wide open? How do you manage that capacity?
Yeah, I think for me, in general, I'm just very diffused, because that's just my personality. I'm all over the place. and that is just my nature, and it like, that's where I live. It is just part of my life. And I do occasionally get to that point of like, God, that's just too much. I don't want to do it. I just definitely feel that it's not, I'm still human, even though I still am, diffused and out there and living in all the realms. But I think but that is where I'm at for my business. I want to create that honing in and drawing in and figuring out what, the solid offering is. And that is for sure. Like, I feel that very, very strongly in myself. And that again comes to that feeling of knowing that I'm here, that I've hit that, and that desire to not be there. I don't want to be there.
Yeah. It's a specificity, I think, the honing in, when we're ready to take more deliberate action, when we're ready to allow there to be space, just because that's what is, and to be patient for the next, to feel into intention and more inspired action.
Yep, absolutely.
So, I love that. And tell me a little bit about, were there key moments, were there pivotal moments in your life, whether in family or in previous businesses, that you can remember that felt like they were layers of, I trust myself? For me, I spent a decade in a toxic relationship, losing any real sense of self or confidence. And it's taken me little experiences, little, not traumas, adversity here, a challenge here, to see myself respond and become a leader. And for me, it's been a continual building of, oh, look at it. Oh, okay, I did that. I did well. And then owning and celebrating, I did well there. I like how I showed up, that I did the right thing. I'm reaping the rewards of the inner work that I do.
Mm-hmm.
So has it been a layering for you two, or a building up, or have you always kind of felt this inner ready to go? I trust myself.
Well, I think that so at my core foundation of who I am, I absolutely believe and trust in myself and where I'm going, especially if I'm in a struggle or in transition. But that's not to say that when I'm going and doing everything in my life and I'm making decisions and I'm working through business ideas, or coming into a workshop, or starting a new yoga group class, or whatever it is, I still have those, the self-doubts. I probably am not educated enough, or, whatever it is, I still have those thoughts. And I think that's just, it's just part of who we are as humans, honestly. I don't think that's ever going to go away. But the practice for me is definitely been absolutely layered in that, and knowing, like, hearing that self-doubt, hearing those voices of inadequacy constantly, and then tuning into them and saying, oh, okay, I hear you. And what does that mean? What does that where is this coming from? And then saying, all right, well, either I'm going to sit with this for a little while longer and mope in it, or I'm going to say, let's shift this tone and figure out where it's coming from, so that really it can be coming back into that center and grounded place. So
yeah, the finding out where it's coming from. I had an experience like that recently too, where I was having almost a conversation with fear, and allowing fear to be the tattletale. By giving it a voice, I was sort of letting it tattletale on the core beliefs or patterns that are buried in a subconscious that I am not aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And fear or insecurity or the ego, the inner critic,
mm-hmm.
will be right there at the ready to tell you. It's not shy.
Yep.
It will say all the things, you suck, you're not good enough, no one's going to want that, all the things. But if you look at it objectively, then it can be almost as if it's like a messenger that's outing the subconscious belief. So we can really get under the hood and take a look. You seem to me to be so free. And my version of free, obviously, sometimes we think of financially independent and free, or I don't care what people think, free. But I really appreciate freedom in terms of, I'm in my body, I am who I am, I'm okay to make mistakes, I'm okay if external circumstances fluctuate and orbit all around me, because I trust myself to adapt. And one thing I've really been playing with lately is the balance of preparing for things. Obviously, we love our courses, we love our learning. So there's always new content and good stuff. But over preparing versus I'm going to show up and be present. Mm-hmm. So for a yoga class, your sequencing, your cues, have your 500 hours of training and lots of experience. But I think we would all fantasize on the idea of wherever we go, we just roll up and we're awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So are you getting more and more of an experience of just getting to show up and be present? Do you get to float on your experience, or do you still integrate a lot of planning? How do you balance that?
Yeah, both. I do both. I definitely, because I approach yoga with a lot of intention.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just to move a class or move a body part. It's really very intentional in what I want a whole class to feel or to embody. And so it's very intentional. So I do spend a lot of time considering what I want to bring into the practice, not just movement, but what kind of breath work, what kind of visualizations, what kind of meditation, what kinds of words that I'm going to be speaking, like all of that. So I do spend a lot of time there, but it's definitely taken a lot of constant reflection as I leave my house and start my drive to the yoga studio. And because I can get wrapped up in my brain, like, oh, I've got to remember this, and this is where my intention lies. And then I can get distracted and be like, so into that intention that I forget, like, actually, it's not about you, Crystal.
What?
Right? So then it's taken me a lot of practice on my drive specifically to listen to what's happening in my own head and how I am either detaching to or attaching to it or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to practice breath work on my drive, practice grounding on my drive, and practice tuning out the ego. Mm-hmm. Because that is what brings me into that place of and so yeah, and then I arrive to class, and then it's fine, and I might still be a little nervous, or I might still bring in little bits and pieces of what I want to tune into, but overall it's definitely been, it's not an either or, it's kind of both.
An integration.
Yeah,
and intention. I find myself wavering back and forth a lot when I'm serving others, and it depends in what capacity. If it's one-on-one coaching, I can very much just empty myself completely and prepare to be present, as you said you worked with your mentor, just as a space of reflection and active listening and presence for someone else to hold space for someone. If I'm leading a circle, it's a little bit different, maybe more like a yoga class. There's intentional exercises, there's a transformational experience. But in all of it, I've heard authors and inspirational teachers that I admire say things like, we teach what we need to learn for ourselves. At the same time, there's this effective communication of understanding how information is received and knowing it's not necessarily all about us. What is our audience asking for?
Yep.
Again, I think it's probably an integration. I find myself more in flow and more fulfilled and more successful, more effective when I come from the place of, what do I need? Where is my heart? And then just teaching as if I were teaching myself. Not that it's about me, but I think it's more authentic. Mm-hmm. Do you have a kind of back and forth with that? Or do you stay in more in what you're learning and then you share? Or do you consider, here's what they need, here's my expertise, I'm going to focus just on what I'm being asked?
I think initially, when I first started teaching, it for sure was looking at my community that was drawn to me, and then projecting outward. What do I think these people need? Yeah. And then what I found in myself was a little bit of detachment, because it was not coming from a place of intention and not coming from my own heart. And that took a while for me to transfer out of, because then I had that fear come into place. Like, what if they won't like me? You come back to my class. I'm not doing what they want. And but then what I did realize once I made that shift, which really wasn't hard. It just was me saying, okay, this is what needs to happen, because ultimately it does come down to my own healing and for myself, right? And not in that like egotistical way, but yeah. And once I did make that transfer to coming from the heart, coming from the intentional place of offering, I began to navigate in the classroom more. So meaning like, I am offering something to you and you get to receive it however you want. And I am paying attention to bodies and I'm paying attention to energy and I'm navigating it now real time instead of just, here's what I'm offering and I know you want this and we're going to do this. And so, and it's way more impactful, way more powerful and way more noticeable in the moments how you're moving and healing other people. And it is incredible to witness.
So much more of a co-creation.
Yep, absolutely. Totally.
The word demonstration comes to mind. There's
right.
So much leadership by example and being in our own embodiment of our own values and intentions, being in the energy that we want to lead people toward as a demonstration.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course that piece of that's what gives people permission.
Yep.
And it's
absolutely.
less talking at them.
Yep.
Right. And less of a, you need this. You're right. It's detachment.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really beautiful. So we've talked a little bit about upper limits, about being in an in-between. Do you have a sense from working with the woman today and from the conversation of the next evolution? And if not, I'm so happy to sit with you in the in-between and in the stillness and just in the right here and now. Just curious if anything's been.
Yeah. I don't know what the next evolution is. I feel like I have in this last week come into reflection of like my childhood and different things that I've done through my youth and how that is impacting how I live today. And the word that keeps coming up within, this is what I believe my limit has, where it falls, is shame. And shame in that if you know what I have done in my past, you won't trust or believe in me and what I'm doing now. And really, I know it's not true, but I feel it still because of who I was maybe when I was younger. Mm-hmm. So that is something that I have to listen to and something I have to heal through and be able to be vulnerable in and be able to express it instead of hide it. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I have to go through before I think I can figure out what that next creative place is going to be for me.
And in your own way, in your processing, you are demonstrating in your openness and in your awareness and in your sharing. So thank you. I appreciate that so much. And I'm going to end with the same question that I've been asking most of the guests recently, talking about leading by example. I would love if you would lead by example. You've given so much. If you are open to receive, giving and receiving. So is there something, maybe a one-word intention, first thing that comes to mind, that you would love to receive from me and from the audience if we were to send you some good vibes, some good energy?
Wow, that is such an amazing question.
I tell you, it's the one everyone gets stuck on because receiving is tricky. It is.
So I think I would love just to receive, and this might be really simple and maybe it's, a typical answer, but honestly, the the wholehearted belief and sense of complete love towards someone that maybe you don't know, which is myself.
And why should we ever tone it down? Why not say, yes, I would like to receive from you and from anyone, from everybody that is alive on the planet today, your 100% complete love. What? Okay. You got it. We know it's you give of your whole self and whole heart. So you got it 100%. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully we'll get to do this again soon. And all my love, stay courageous and topless and awkward and still and grounded and absolutely in your own brilliance all the time.
You.
Yes. Until next time, my friend.